Jasmine sat on the cool tile floor of her bedroom, back pressed against the closet door, phone glowing in her hand. The ceiling fan hummed overhead, moving the heavy afternoon air in slow circles, but it didn't touch the weight sitting in her chest. On the screen was a wedding photo, not hers. Marcus stood in a navy suit, arm around his bride. The woman's white lace dress caught the light. Her smile was wide and unguarded. Marcus's face was calm in the way Jasmine remembered from church, steady, attentive, the way he looked when he was praying with someone or listening deeply. Only now, that focus was turned toward the woman beside him. Jasmine zoomed in until the picture blurred into tiny squares, but the ache in her throat stayed sharp. "God picked him for me," she whispered into the quiet room, and I walked away. The words felt heavy and hollow at the same time. If someone had told her a few years ago that she would end up here, sitting on her bedroom floor, staring at another woman in the dress she used to imagine herself in, she would have laughed it off. She was the careful one, the church girl, the one who told younger women, "Don't marry outside God's will. Your feelings can lie." Back then, everything still sounded simple. God would speak, she would obey, and love would feel like safety and truth and maybe a little bit of magic. Back then, Marcus was just Brother Marcus. On a Sunday afternoon, not long after one of those powerful services, she and her best friend Keisha sat in a crowded cafe a few blocks from church, plastic spoons scraping slowly through melting ice cream. More people from different churches in pressed suits and Sunday dresses filled the small space. A gospel song floated from the speakers over the low chatter. "Okay," Keisha said, eyes bright. "Describe your dream husband in 3 words. 3? Jasmine laughed. "Girl, be serious. I need at least 10. 10 then," Keisha said. "I'm feeling generous." Jasmine smiled and leaned back, thinking. "Tall," she began, counting on her fingers. "Funny. Intelligent. Loves God for real, not just goes to church. Romantic. Expressive. Confident. Somebody I can talk to about anything. And," she pressed her hand lightly against her chest, "he's gotta make me feel it. Butterflies. Spark. That, oh my God, this is him feeling." "So basically," Keisha said, "you want David's heart, Solomon's bank account, Boaz's kindness, Joseph's integrity, this in your favorite actor's face, cool, no pressure. Add Paul's spiritual depth," Jasmine added, grinning, "and Moses' leadership, and—" "You gon' marry the whole Bible at this rate," Keisha cut in, laughing. "Is it a crime to have standards?" Jasmine joked. Keisha scooped a bite of ice cream, then looked at her more seriously. "For real, though, what if you meet a man who really loves God, treats you well, respects you, supports your calling, but he doesn't give you that spark right away? What if he's kind of quiet, not exactly your physical type? Would you still say yes?" Jasmine didn't even pause. "No." Keisha's eyebrows went up. "Not even a prayer pause? Dang." "Keish, marriage is long," Jasmine said, "like the rest of your life long. I can't be managing feelings. Imagine waking up every day next to someone you don't feel anything for. That's a slow death. I want to be in love, not just in agreement." "Feelings can grow, you know," Keisha said. "Butterflies can come later." "Maybe," Jasmine said. "But at least let there be a baby butterfly at the start, a little caterpillar something. I can't start from zero romance and just be hoping it shows up in year 5. Keisha shook her head with that half-amused, half-concerned look. "You and these butterflies." "Leave my butterflies alone," Jasmine said, laughing. Later, as they walked back toward the church parking lot to catch rides home, they saw Marcus by the side entrance of the fellowship hall, folding metal chairs and stacking them in neat rows. His shirt sleeves were rolled to his elbows. There was a small sweat patch between his shoulders, and he paused to help one of the older church mothers down the last step, one hand outstretched, listening as she talked. "Look at Marcus," Keisha said under her breath. "That is somebody's husband. Deluxe package." Jasmine followed her gaze and shrugged. "He's like a brother." "Always he's like a brother," Keisha muttered. "One day somebody else gon' see husband where you keep seeing brother." "I'll be happy for them," Jasmine said easily. "He's great, but, you know." "No butterflies?" Keisha guessed. Jasmine just smiled and said nothing. From across the lot, Marcus glanced up and saw them. He lifted a hand in greeting, mouth curving into a small smile. Jasmine waved back. Nothing flipped in her stomach, no spark, no racing pulse, and in her mind, that settled it. There was no way he was her future husband. 2 months later, their church announced a weekend retreat for young adults, worship, teaching, and extended time in prayer about calling, purpose, and relationships. The banner draped across the sanctuary wall said in bold letters, "Direction and Destiny." By the second evening, the place was nearly full. Rows of folding chairs lined the room. The praise team had just finished leading a slow, intense worship set when Pastor James stepped up to the pulpit, Bible open. He talked about decisions, about listening for God, about the difference between emotions and leading. Then his tone shifted slightly. "Some of y'all," he said, scanning the crowd, "have decided that when God shows you your spouse, it's gon' feel like a Netflix rom-com. You won't be able to eat, you won't be able to sleep, your heart doing backflips every time they walk in the room. That's the confirmation you're waiting on." Laughter rippled across the room. A few people clapped in guilty agreement. Jasmine smiled, but her fingers tightened around her notebook. "But hear me," Pastor James continued. "Sometimes the person God points to will not come with fireworks. They will come with peace. They will come with fruit. They will come with consistency. Your emotions might be late to the party. Don't throw away what God is sending because it don't look like your fantasy." He paused, eyes landing somewhere near where Jasmine sat. "Don't worship butterflies," he said softly. "Worship Jesus." The words sank into her chest like stones, making small, uneasy waves. Later, when the sermon ended, and the stage lights dimmed and the band played quietly as people spread out to pray on their own. Some knelt at their chairs, others came to the altar, others sat with their heads bowed. Jasmine knelt next to her chair, fingers laced so tightly her knuckles whitened. "Lord," she whispered, "you know me. I don't want to marry wrong. I don't want to force anything. Please, choose for me, even if it's not what I pictured, even if it scares me. Just show me your will, and I'll obey." She closed her eyes and tried to quiet her thoughts. Almost immediately, an image slid into her mind. Marcus. Not in a tux, not with a ring, just Marcus the way she always saw him at prayer nights. Head slightly bowed, eyes closed, lips moving with quiet intensity. With the picture came a feeling she couldn't easily shrug off, a deep physical calm, like a tight knot in her chest had loosened. Her breathing slowed. The background noise of the room faded for a second. She thought of him unlocking the church doors early on Sundays, staying late to stack chairs, kneeling to pray with teenagers after youth service. She imagined standing next to him at the front of the sanctuary in a white dress while someone read vows over them. It didn't feel like a movie. It felt safe. And then, just as quickly, another thought barged in. Safe is boring. Her eyes flew open. "No," she muttered, heart rate spiking. "That's just me. That's not you, God." She forced herself to focus on the worship song for a while. When she tried to pray again, closing her eyes, Marcus's face returned with the same blanket of peace attached. After several minutes of wrestling internally, she slipped out to the hallway to catch her breath. The carpeted corridor was cooler, the distant murmur of prayer a soft hum behind closed doors. As she headed toward the restroom, someone caught her arm gently. "Baby, you almost ran me over," a warm voice said. It was Mother Johnson, one of the older women in the congregation, in her floral church dress and low heels, gray hair tucked neatly under a hat. She smiled up at Jasmine. "Sorry, Mother," Jasmine said. "I wasn't looking." "That's all right," Mother Johnson said. Her gaze drifted past Jasmine, through the cracked doors into the sanctuary, where Marcus now stood near the back, helping a deacon stack Bibles. "You see that young man right there?" she asked, nodding in his direction. "That Marcus? That's a good one. Men who love God with their life, not just their lips. And are getting real rare out here. If the Lord ever puts somebody like that in your path, don't you get too picky to see the blessing, you hear me?" Heat rose under Jasmine's skin. "Yes, ma'am," she said quickly. Mother Johnson patted her arm and moved on, leaving Jasmine standing there with her heart thudding in her ears. The timing felt too pointed to be coincidence. Peace in prayer, a sermon about fantasies, an offhand comment from a woman who had no clue what was going on in her heart. It felt like God was slowly, gently connecting dots. She went to the restroom, splashed cool water on her face, and told herself she was overthinking. A few days later, unable to settle the unrest inside, Jasmine drove over to the small brick house where Angela lived. Miss Angela, to the younger women at church, married in her late 30s, had known for straight talk and a deep love for God. They sat in Angela's cozy living room, the TV muted in the background where Angela's kids watched cartoons with snacks scattered between them. A candle flickered on the coffee table between the two women, filling the room with a soft vanilla scent. "So, what's on your mind?" Angela asked, tucking one leg under herself on the couch. "You texting me I need to talk, like you pregnant or something." Jasmine managed a weak laugh. "It's not that. It's marriage." Angela's eyebrows lifted. "Oh, that is my sport," she said. "Go ahead." "How did you know your husband was the one?" Jasmine asked. "Like, did you feel it? Was it like fireworks? Did God speak out loud? She broke off, searching for words. "How did you know you weren't just settling?" Angela smiled, eyes soft. "Honestly, I didn't know everything at first," she said. "There was no angel in my bedroom. I didn't hear my name in the clouds. When Tony came along, I didn't feel any big spark. What I felt was peace, respect. I watched him. I saw his consistency. My affection grew as I saw his fruit." "Weren't you scared, though?" Jasmine asked. "That you'd marry someone you weren't in love with?" Angela tilted her head slightly. "What do you mean when you say in love?" "You know?" Jasmine waved her hand in a nervous little circle. "Butterflies. Can't stop thinking about him, wanting to talk all the time. That feeling where you're like, Lord, if I don't marry this man, I'll die." "Baby, that's not love. That's addiction," Angela said, chuckling. "Or indigestion." Jasmine huffed out a laugh despite herself. Angela sobered. "I'm not saying feelings don't matter. They do. God made you with emotions. He's not mad at them. But we live in a culture that worships them. Real covenant can't be built on butterflies. Butterflies die." "So what about peace?" Jasmine asked quietly. "Is that enough?" "Peace is a feeling too," Angela said. "But it comes from the Holy Spirit. When God keeps highlighting somebody's character to you, and every time you picture a future with them, you feel rest, don't throw that away just because your stomach isn't doing flips yet." Jasmine stared into her mug. "What if I only feel peace?" she whispered. No, fire. Then you sit with that, Angela replied. You ask, God, is my idea of fire even healthy? Because a lot of folks out here think trauma is chemistry, think chaos is passion, as sometimes the thing that makes your heart race is actually your flesh recognizing something familiar, and familiar ain't the same as good. She studied Jasmine's face. Is there someone you're considering? The truth pushed against Jasmine's teeth. Not really, she said instead. I'm just trying to prepare, in advance. Angela didn't look convinced, but she let it go. All right, then store this up. When the time comes, don't just ask, what do I feel? Ask, what does God see? What's the fruit? Does this draw me closer to Him or away? Your heart can be loud. That doesn't mean it's right. Driving home afterward, Jasmine replayed Angela's words. Alongside them, uninvited, came the now familiar image of Marcus, head bowed in prayer, steady and unflashy, surrounded by young men who clearly trusted him. And that quiet sense of rightness slid into place when she pictured him. She turned the radio up and tried to drown it out. Marcus came to her a few weeks later. It was a Wednesday night after Bible study. The sanctuary lights had been turned off. Only the lobby and parking lot lights remained, casting long orange-yellow pools across the asphalt. People lingered in small clusters, laughing, saying goodbyes. Jasmine slipped her Bible into her tote and started toward the side exit when she heard her name. Hey, Jasmine. She turned. Marcus stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, posture relaxed, but eyes serious. Hey, she said. Can I talk to you for a minute? He asked. Her fingers tightened around the tote strap. Sure. They stepped just outside, under a street lamp by the edge of the parking lot. Cars rolled slowly by, as crickets chirped in the bushes lining the churchyard. Marcus took a small breath, as if steadying himself. I've been praying about this for a while, he began. I didn't want to say anything until I had peace that it was even the right time to talk. And even now, I know I could be wrong, so please don't take my word as God's word. Take it back to Him. Jasmine's heart thudded. I've watched you serve, he continued, looking at her. And I've seen your love for the Lord, your heart for people, your consistency. Over the past year, I've found myself praying for you, more than just as another member of the worship team. Praying about a future with you. He paused, words careful, not rushed. I believe God may be leading me to pursue you for marriage. I'm not asking you to give me an answer right now. I just wanted to be honest, and to ask if you would pray about it. If God says no, I will accept that. I don't want anything He doesn't want, for you or for me. He let the words rest there between them, not leaning in, not trying to fill the silence. Respect, sincerity, submission to God's will. Everything Jasmine had been taught to value stood right in front of her, wrapped in Marcus's ordinary face and quiet tone. Inside, that same peace surged, like a deep river under her feet. She could see in a flash pieces of what life with him might be like. Praying together before work, leading small groups, visiting church members in the hospital, raising kids who knew Scripture not as a performance, but as normal conversation. Her emotions, however, sat still. No breathless rush, no instant surge of desire. Just a steady calm and a growing fear that if she stepped into this, she might never feel the kind of blazing romance she'd always dreamed about. I'll pray about it, she managed. Marcus's shoulders relaxed slightly. Thank you, he said softly. Take your time. There's no pressure. He offered a small, unsure smile. Good night, Jasmine. Good night, she replied. On the drive home, the conflict in her chest got louder. He's a good man. You don't feel anything. You feel peace. Peace isn't passion, but peace is God's fingerprint. You'll resent him if there's no spark. You'll regret it if you ignore God. By the time she pulled into her apartment complex, she had settled on a compromise that suited her more than it pleased God. "Lord," she murmured later that night, kneeling beside her bed, "if this is really you, I need more than peace. You made my heart. You know I want to love my husband, not just respect him. If Marcus is really the one, give me feelings. Give me some sign that touches my emotions too. Please." Silence answered. No dream, no knock on the wall, just the same subtle calm that wrapped itself around Marcus's name whenever she brought it to God. After a few days of wrestling with that, Jasmine did the one thing that made the noise quieter. She stopped bringing his name up at all. It was in that hollow space between knowing and surrendering that Trey walked into her life. She met him at a friend's birthday dinner at a popular restaurant downtown. A long table had been reserved for their group. Candles flickered in the center. R&B hummed low from the speakers. Staff bustled back and forth with plates. "Jasmine, this is my cousin Trey," her friend introduced as Jasmine slipped into her seat. "Trey, this is the Jasmine I told you about, the one who'd be shutting down worship every Sunday." Trey reached across the table and took her hand briefly. "So you're the one keeping folks in church over time," he said with a grin. "Nice to finally meet you." His eyes were bright, his smile easy. He wore a crisp button-down and a watch that caught the light. Jasmine laughed. "I'm not keeping anybody. They're free to leave." "Not when you start hitting those runs, they're not," he said. Everybody frozen like, "Okay, God, we hear you." Their corner of the table chuckled. Throughout the meal, Trey kept her engaged. He asked about her job, her hobbies, the story behind a small tattoo on her wrist, and he listened with an intensity that made her feel like the only person in the room. "What's one thing you want to do before you hit 30? He asked at one point, after the cake had been cut. "Travel," she said without thinking. "I want to see Israel, and maybe Greece or Italy. I don't know, just somewhere far." He nodded. "We'll make that happen." "We." Her heart caught on the word before her mind flagged it. As people hugged goodbye outside under the streetlights, Trey walked up to her again. "Can I get your number?" he asked. "Strictly for spiritual check-ins, of course." She raised an eyebrow. "Spiritual check-ins?" "Yeah," he said, grinning. "Somebody got to text you. Have you prayed today?" She laughed, but she handed him her phone. He typed in his number and called his own phone from it. "Now you got me too," he said. Fair exchange. By the time she got home, kicked off her heels and lay down on her bed, her phone buzzed. "Had a great time talking to you tonight. Your laugh is dangerous. Sleep well, worship leader." Her lips curved without permission. She replied, "You too. Get home safe." Seconds later, another buzz. "Already home. I'm thinking of starting my prayer assignment for you now. Any specific requests?" She shook her head, smiling in the dim light of her lamp. Her phone didn't do that for Marcus. With Trey, her emotions reacted instantly, sparking, waking up, buzzing with a kind of aliveness she had secretly worried she might not be capable of. She did not feel peace the way she had with Marcus, but she felt something big and exciting and noisy, and for a while that felt more important. Trey's presence grew quickly. His morning, "Good morning, sunshine" texts, random memes in the middle of the day, late-night calls where his voice slid low and soft, filling up the dark spaces of her room. "It's crazy," he said one night. "It feels like I've known you way longer than this. Like we just clicked." "I know," Jasmine said, hugging her pillow closer. "It's weird, in a good way." He told her about his job in sales, his dream of starting his own business, the car he wanted to buy for his mom, He said he admired how committed she was to her church responsibilities, though when she mentioned a Saturday street outreach, he made a teasing sound. "Just don't turn into one of those church girls who can't enjoy life," he joked. "Balance, you know?" She knew what enjoy life usually meant in the mouths of men her age. Still, she heard herself say, "I'm not that deep. Don't worry." With him, her guard slid down. She shared stories she rarely told anyone. They laughed about childhood embarrassments, swapped playlists, stayed on the phone until her eyes drooped. Every time his name flashed on her screen, her stomach fluttered. In contrast, Marcus faded into the background of her attention. He still came to church. He still unlocked the doors, stacked the chairs, prayed with people at the altar. He still greeted her with the same warm, measured smile. Jasmine started to duck down side hallways when she saw him coming. Not because of anything he did, but because something in her knew she was acting like she didn't have a pending question before God. "Have you given Marcus an answer?" Keisha asked one evening in the church foyer as they slipped on their jackets. I'm still praying," Jasmine said too fast. Keisha studied her face. "Are you praying?" she asked gently. "Or are you just waiting for your heart to drag God where it wants to go?" Annoyance flared. "Why is everybody suddenly a prophet?" Jasmine snapped. "It's my life. I'm the one who has to live with my choice. I can't just marry somebody because Christians would approve. If I don't feel that way." Keisha's eyes softened. "Nobody's telling you to marry a man you can't stand," she said quietly. "But don't confuse no butterflies yet with no God's will. Just don't lie to yourself about who you're listening to. That's all I'm saying." Jasmine looked away. "I'm tired," she muttered. "I don't want to talk about this anymore." Later that night, when Trey called and had her laughing until her cheeks hurt, and Keisha's words faded into background noise. Eventually the day came when Marcus needed an answer. It was a bright Sunday, the kind of day where the sky looked almost too blue. After service, the church parking lot buzzed with activity, kids running between cars, parents calling to them, car doors slamming. Jasmine stepped out of the side entrance, digging in her bag for her keys when she heard him. "Hey, Jasmine." She turned. Marcus stood a few feet away, hands by his sides, expression open but a little tense. "Hey," she said. "Do you have a minute?" he asked. She glanced at her watch, then at her buzzing phone. Trey's name lit up the screen with a text she didn't open yet. "Yeah," she said. They moved to a quieter edge of the lot near a row of bushes. Nearby, someone started their engine. A toddler cried briefly, and then was hushed. Marcus looked down once, then back up. "I don't want to keep you long," he said, "or keep you in limbo. I know I asked you to pray. I also know hearing from God can take time. I just wanted to check in. Have you gotten any direction? If your answer's no, that's okay. I'd just rather know than assume." The way he said it, not as if he was entitled to her, but as if he genuinely wanted God's best for both of them, made something in her chest ache. Her spirit knew exactly what honesty and surrender would sound like. "I feel God's peace when I think of you, but my feelings are pulling me somewhere else. I'm afraid. I'm confused. Help me pray." Instead, she let fear dress itself up as integrity. I've prayed," she said slowly, hearing the thinness in her own claim, "and honestly, I don't feel led in that direction." She swallowed. "You're a good man, Marcus. I respect you a lot, but I don't see you that way, and I don't want to say yes if my heart isn't there. That wouldn't be fair to you." Pain flickered across his features, quick as a shadow over a window. Then he nodded, jaw tightening for just a second. "Thank you for being honest," he said quietly. "I appreciate that." He paused. "I'll keep praying for you, for God's best in your life, not about us, just for you. Shame crawled hot along Jasmine's neck. I hope this doesn't make things weird, she said. Not from my side, he replied, a faint, sad smile ghosting over his lips. You're my sister in Christ before anything else. That won't change. He gave a little nod and walked away toward the other end of the lot, where an older man waved him over to help lift something into a trunk. As she watched him go, something inside her sank, heavy and final, like a stone dropped into deep water. This is more than just turning down a guy, a small voice whispered. You know that. She shoved the thought away. Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out. Trey, I'm at the restaurant already. Don't stand me up, girl. I miss you. Relief and anticipation flooded in where conviction had tried to make a home. On my way, she typed. Don't eat everything before I get there. She walked across the lot, heels clicking on the pavement, hair catching the light. Out by the street, cars flowed past, honking and rushing, carrying people into 100 different stories. Behind her, the church building stood quiet, its doors beginning to close. Later, much later, I with a stranger in a white dress beside Marcus in a photo. Jasmine would look back on this moment as the real turning point. Not the first time she met Trey, not even the worst day that would come. This, the day she took everything God had gently, patiently shown her, his peace, his counsel, his confirmations, and said in a voice dressed up as honesty, I don't feel led. Back then, she only knew that she was walking toward the man who made her heart race and away from the man who made her soul rest. She thought she had saved herself from a dull, loveless story. She had no idea what loving her own feelings more than God's leading was about to cost her.